We all grew up laughing at characters getting punished in cartoons because the show frames it like they had it coming. But if you actually look at their home life, some of these kids never had a chance.
You're grounded!
Ah, shit.
Because here's the thing, with these kids who were labelled bad, nobody questioned the parents. But don't worry, today we will question them. Because when adults are so inconsistent, unfair and emotionally absent, the kid pays the price. But what does that actually do to them? And which cartoon characters deserve better parents than the ones they were stuck with? If there was an award for the worst parent of all time, the Doofenshmirtz family wouldn't just win it. They'd build a machine to make sure no one else even got nominated.
It all began on the day of my actual birth. Both of my parents failed to show up.
Let's just sit with that for a second. His mother didn't even show up for his own birthday. I'm pretty sure that's physically impossible. But in Heinz's world, it was just Tuesday. But the neglect was just the start. The real kicker was that his parents forced him to stand in the garden dressed as a lawn gnome for months.
Beloved lawn gnome was repossessed. Who would protect our Zatzenfruit garden from witches' spells and wood trolls? From a tender age, my father decided that it would be me.
The show treats this like a joke because he's the bad guy, but Heinz isn't actually evil. He's just a guy who wants the hug he never got. His inventions aren't weapons. They're basically mechanical temper tantrums. He's not trying to take over the city because he's a dictator. He's doing it because his dad loved a literal dog more than him. The crazy part is that Doofenshmirtz is actually a great dad to his daughter, Vanessa. He broke the cycle. He was raised by people who forgot his birthday every single year, yet he still tries his best. He deserved better, but he became a better person than his parents ever were. Next, we're going to Hillwood to talk about a girl who uses bullying as a shield for a home life that is honestly kind of depressing. Helga Pataki isn't just a mean kid. She's a neglected middle child. Her mother Miriam is always sleepy and making smoothies, which we all know is adult juice for I can't deal with this. And her father, Big Bob, literally forgets her name half the time.
Dad, what's the matter with you?
The sad thing is that Helga is a genius and a poet, but she's learned that the only way to get attention is to be loud and mean. When your older sister is perfect Olga and your parents treat you like a background character, you're gonna end up with some weird hobbies like building a heart-shaped shrine to a kid with a football head in your closet. It is well known that Helga's obsession with Arnold isn't just a crush. It's her grasping for any kind of kindness she doesn't get at home.
Hi, nice bow.
Huh?
I like your bow because it's pink like your pants.
She was walking alone in the rain as a 4-year-old because her parents literally forgot she existed. Big Bob deserves a punch to the face, and Helga deserves a real family. Now, let's talk about a boy who we have talked about many times on this channel. The Purple Hand Gang leader who's just actually a victim of some serious golden child drama, Horrid Henry. In his house, Henry is a monster, and his brother, Perfect Peter, is a saint. But if you actually watch the show, Peter is a manipulative little snitch. Yes, snitch. That wasn't the word you probably expected me to say. And the parents are the real problem.
Look what Henry did!
Don't be horrid, Henry!
Henry's parents have literally made Horrid his first name. Imagine being a kid and knowing your parents' default mood for you is just anger. Henry isn't bad. He's just energetic and creative. Peter gets rewarded for breathing, while Henry gets grounded for existing. It's no wonder he pulls pranks. It's the only way he can feel like he has any power in a house where he'd already been labelled as the bad kid. If his parents actually gave him a chance, he'd probably be a millionaire by now. Instead, he's just one of those kids who deserves a new set of parents. We have to talk about the most grounded lad in history. Butterscott. Everyone loves Butters because he's so sweet, but his parents, Stefan and Linda, are low-key the scariest characters in South Park. They hide their craziness behind a mask of suburban manners and discipline.
No, that's just what I look like. See? Don't you make that face at me, young man. I'm not making a face, Mom.
Butters has been grounded for having a birthday, for being a victim of a prank, and even for making a face in a photo. It's not just parenting, it's psychological warfare. His dad is a ball of repressed rage who treats a 10-year-old like a prisoner of war. It is not hard to notice that Butter's politeness is actually just a way to avoid getting screamed at. He's so scared of being grounded that he's lost his own personality.
The world isn't fair. I do everything people ask me to. I stand in the lunch lines for them. I buy tampons at the store for them. I go on Maury Povich with balls on my chin for them. And yet nobody accepts me. I am an outcast.
When your mum tries to take you out because she's mad at your dad, you don't just deserve better parents, you deserve a one-way ticket out of town and a lifelong supply of therapy. Moving into some more modern territory, let's talk about Lake from Disventure Camp. Yes, we love Total Drama Island so much that we wanted to include this fan-made series in here as well. Anyway, Lake is the definition of what happens when parents treat their child like a trophy to be polished, rather than a human being. Her parents wanted her to own her success. They mapped out her entire life, what she ate, what she wore, who she talked to, like she was a sim they were trying to level up.
My parents say that my obligation is to study and get perfect scores to maintain my family's reputation. Since I was born, they have controlled every aspect of my life, from the clothes I should wear to the tone my skin should have.
The pressure was so high that Lake's entire personality was essentially a script written by two people who didn't even like her. Imagine living in a house where you aren't allowed to have a single original thought. That's Lake's reality. Her parents saw her as an extension of their own ego. Every grade, every hobby, it was all for their social status. In their eyes, Lake was a project meant to validate their own brilliance to the rest of the world.
That wig you are holding, do you like it?
Yes, very much. It looks like the one I saw in the store back then.
Well, put it on then.
So, when she finally rebels, it's really just a survival instinct. Lake's journey of cutting off her hair and changing her name wasn't just a makeover. It was a desperate attempt to reclaim her own DNA from people who were trying to rewrite it. Lake deserved parents who loved her for being Lake, not for being a walking CV. The psychological baggage of knowing your parents' love is conditional on your performance is a weight that takes decades to drop, and Lake had to start dropping it while being filmed for a reality show. Talk about pressure. If you want to see a kid who is literally too good for his own good, look at Orel from Moral Orel. This show starts as a parody of those old stop-motion church cartoons, but it quickly turns into a horror story about why some people should never be allowed near a pulpit or a playground. Orel's dad, Clay, is a miserable alcoholic who hates his wife, hates his job, and apparently hates the fact that his son is actually a decent human being. Clay's parenting consists of drinking in his study and giving Orel the most warped, twisted moral advice possible. He uses religion as a weapon to make Orel feel guilty for literally just breathing.
Is a very hard, soul-numbing, and joyless experience, son.
Orel is so innocent that he takes everything Clay says as literal gospel. If Clay says suffering brings you closer to God, Orel will go out and try to find a way to hurt himself just to be holy. It's genuinely painful to watch because Orel isn't being bad. He's just trying to earn the love of a father who's physically incapable of giving it.
Word.
Orel, what is the meaning of this?
Dad!
How dare you spy on us like this?
Huh?
The real edgy truth here is that Clay doesn't want Orel to be a good person. He wants Orel to be just as broken and as miserable as he is.
Now do you understand?
I guess so.
Still hate her. Tolerator. Tolerator. Yeah!
He's a guy who realised his life is a hollow shell and decided the best hobby would be to empty out his son's soul too. It's often pointed out the episode alone is the moment the show stopped being a comedy and started being a tragedy. In that episode, we see the full extent of the family's rot. Orel deserved a better family. Orel deserved a family that actually practiced the kindness they preached. Instead of a dad who used a Bible to justify being a sociopath, he spent his childhood looking for God in the eyes of a man who only saw a reflection of his own failure.
Timmy
is an average kid that no one understands.
Let's look at the theme song again. Timmy is an average kid that no one understands. Timmy is an average kid that no one understands. We sang along to that for years without realising it was a cry for help. Timmy's parents, Mr. and Mrs. Turner, are so incredibly stupid and neglectful that the universe literally had to assign him magical bodyguards just to keep him alive. The Fairly Odd Parents are a cosmic intervention for children whose parents have checked out of reality. Timmy's parents are so self-absorbed that they'll leave him with Vicky, a babysitter who's quite literally a domestic terrorist, just so that they can go to a chocolate festival or some other dumb event that they care about more than their son.
Hey! Where am I? What am I doing here? And why aren't you miserable?
They constantly lie to him, forget his age, and prioritise their own petty rivalries with the Dinkelbergs over his safety. There's a moment where they admitted they only wanted a daughter and basically treat Timmy like a placeholder. Let's be real, they are dangerously negligent. They once spent their entire life savings on a fancy car and forgot to buy food for their son. Timmy is a kid trying to survive a house where his parents are too busy being idiots to notice he's being tortured by a teenage girl with a pink hat and a chainsaw. If Timmy didn't have Cosmo and Wanda to wish for a better life, he'd probably be the protagonist of a much darker show on HBO. He deserved a mum and a dad who knew his birthday without needing a calendar, or at the very least, didn't hire a babysitter who owns a torture rack. Let's shift gears to Langley Falls and talk about Steve Smith from American Dad. On the surface, it's a comedy about a nerdy kid, but if you look closer, Steve is basically a lab rat in his father's experiment to create the perfect American alpha male. Stan Smith is not only a strict dad, he's a CIA-trained narcissist who believes his son's sensitivity and intelligence are a personal insult to his masculinity.
How's the arm?
Oh, the arm will heal. But you know what won't? This! Today, Dad.
It doesn't look like Steve had much fun at the batting cages.
Sorry, I'm not the son you want me to be.
Stan has literally used CIA resources to gaslight, stalk, and even physically alter Steve. Remember the time Stan used experimental drugs to keep Steve from hitting puberty because he didn't want to deal with a teenager?
The only thing worse than a child going through puberty is being the parent of a child going through puberty.
Well, I was talking to Stan last night, and he seemed pretty sure that nothing could stop the aging process.
Or the time he literally gave a rifle to Steve, where Steve ended up shooting Santa.
Snowman, get him!
Oh my God! A mall Santa!
In the world of American Dad, these are gags. But in reality, Steve is living in a high-tech domestic nightmare. Fans of American Dad often point out that Steve is actually incredibly talented. He's a musical prodigy, a brilliant student, and deeply empathetic. But because he doesn't want to spend his weekends waterboarding suspected terrorists or hunting deer with his bare hands, Stan treats him like a failure. Steve's mother, Francine, isn't much better either. She often enables Stan's insanity or gets so caught up in her own drama that Steve is left to defend himself against a father who once replaced him with a more masculine robot. Steve Smith deserves a restraining order and a scholarship to a school far, far away from the CIA. Now, I know that Hank is a cool dad and all that on the internet, but let's talk about the man who made him that way, Cotton Hill. Cotton is a misogynistic, angry, I killed 50 men veteran who treats Hank like a personal disappointment every time he breathes. Cotton is a textbook narcissist who uses his war stories as a shield to be a total jerk to everyone, especially his own son. Cotton spent Hank's entire childhood belittling him for being soft or having a woman's spirit. This is why Hank is so repressed he can barely say I love you to his own wife without sounding like he's passing a large, jagged kidney stone. It hurts, I promise you. He's been conditioned to think that any emotion other than frustration with propane is a sign of weakness.
He's not going to take over the family gas station.
Dad, I don't work at a gas station.
You ain't too big for me to give you a licking.
Oh, Dad, you old skunk.
Hank tries so hard to be a good dad to Bobby, but you can see the cotton in him leaking out whenever Bobby does something that is not right. Hank loves his son Bobby, but he doesn't know how to show it because his own father never showed him anything but a belt and a list of demands. Hank is the guy who thinks a firm handshake is too much intimacy. The real kicker here is that Cotton actually treats Bobby better than he ever treated Hank.
What do you say I drive you to school today, Bobby? Hank, you fixed my car yet?
I just woke up.
If you were in the army, you could have dug 10 graves by now.
I hope you're all hungry.
Which is its own psychological torture for Hank. It's the grandpa loves the grandkid more than the son trope on steroids.
What?
To be honest, guys, Hank deserved a dad who didn't measure masculinity by how many shins you lost in the Pacific Theatre or how many people you can make feel small in a single afternoon. Ooh, and finally, the heavy hitter, BoJack Horseman. If you want to know why BoJack is a narcissist with a drinking problem who ruins everything he touches, look at Beatrice and Butterscotch. They didn't just neglect him, they actively told him he was the reason that they were miserable.
What the hell is even that?
They treated their child like a ball and chain that prevented them from reaching their true potential. Beatrice forgets BoJack's birthday, and she would look him in the eye and tell him he was born broken. That's some proper psychological sabotage.
Damn!
She and Butterscotch stayed in a loveless, toxic marriage and used BoJack as a punching bag for their own failed dreams. Every time BoJack tried to do something good, he had his mother's voice in his head, telling him it wouldn't last because he was a horseman, and horsemans are rough.
It's your fault with your little bird talk.
Of silly stories.
Some people like silly stories.
A lot of good they ever did me. All the sacrifices I made so that you could do this.
The girl went and got herself pregnant.
Oh, she got herself pregnant.
I don't know what to do. Please, just fix this for me, please.
The trauma in the Horseman house was a generational poison. We see in Free Churro how much space his parents still take up in his head, even after they're gone. BoJack spent his whole life trying to be famous, just so the world would give him the validation his parents never did. But fame is a hollow substitute for a mother's love. He's a horse who has everything. The house, the money, the fame, but feels nothing.
I'm not good enough. What?
Because he was raised by people who taught him that love is a burden and happiness is a lie you tell before the other shoe drops. BoJack is a reminder that some parents don't just mess up your childhood, they ruin your entire capacity to be a good person. He deserved a home that wasn't a battlefield of insults and broken glass. So, what's the lesson here? That cartoon parents are basically the final bosses of trauma? Yeah, pretty much. But there's a reason we love these characters. We see our own family's quirks in their struggles. We laugh at Doofenshmirtz because his life is a disaster. But we relate to it because we've all felt invisible at some point in our lives. We cheer for Helga because we know what it's like to hide our true selves behind a mask just to get through the day. These characters didn't just deserve better parents. They deserve to be seen for who they actually were, not what they could do for their parents' egos. They are the survivors of the 2D world, and maybe by talking about them, we can feel a little better about our own families. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back with a new video before you can blink. I'm serious. Blink, and see what happens.
Blink, motherfucker!
You see? There it is. It's on screen already. Cheerio!